Maya stood alone in the observation deck, staring at the vast expanse of stars stretching endlessly before her. Her violet eyes reflected the cosmic light as memories of her destroyed home world flooded her mind. It had been 3 months since she arrived at the Vanguard, and every day brought new challenges, new dangers, and new reasons to keep moving forward. The first time she met Commander Jake, he was suspicious of her. She could see it in the way his hand rested on his weapon, the way his officers formed a protective circle around him. An elf warrior appearing out of nowhere in human space was not a normal occurrence, and humans were right to be cautious. But Maya had proven herself worth the risk through countless hours of labor, strategic advice and genuine help during crisis situations. Ember approached silently, his massive form moving with surprising grace despite his enormous size. The dragon's scales glowed softly in the dim light, casting dancing shadows across the metal walls of the ship. Frost appeared from the other side, and together the 2 dragons flanked their companion. This was their routine now, a comfort that both the dragons and Maya had grown accustomed to. The bond between an elf and a dragon was ancient and powerful, stretching back thousands of years through bloodlines and magic that humans could barely comprehend. Maya had rescued Ember and Frost from the crystal mines of her homeland, where the Zephyr Collective had imprisoned them for their ability to generate and store massive amounts of energy. When everything else was taken from her, when her entire civilization crumbled to dust and ashes, these 2 creatures remained loyal and devoted. A notification chimed on Maya's communication device. It was Dr. Helen, the lead scientist of the Vanguard. She wanted to meet with Maya immediately in the research laboratory. There was an urgency in the message that made Maya's instincts scream danger. She had learned long ago to trust her instincts. They had kept her alive when nothing else could. Maya made her way through the ship's corridors, Ember and Frost following close behind. The crew members they passed gave them respectful nods and moved aside, giving them space. Some still looked at the dragons with fear in their eyes, but that was understandable. Not everyone could adjust quickly to the presence of mythical creatures walking through metal hallways. The research laboratory was a place of constant activity and scientific wonder. Holographic displays showed complex data streams, energy signatures, and star maps. Dr. Helen stood beside one of the main terminals, her face pale and her hands trembling slightly. Next to her stood a young man that Maya did not recognize, someone wearing the uniform of a communications officer. Dr. Helen looked up as Maya entered, and her expression became even more troubled. This was not good. Maya, thank you for coming, Dr. Helen said, her voice shaky. We need to talk about something that we have discovered, something that changes everything about our understanding of the situation we are in. What have you found? Maya asked, moving closer to the data displays. The young officer, whose name was Adam, spoke up. We intercepted a transmission about 6 hours ago. It was encoded in an ancient language, one that we thought was extinct. Our language analysis software was able to decode it, and when we translated it, we realized we needed to bring you in immediately. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. An ancient language? There were very few civilizations that still used the old dialects. Most had evolved beyond them, moving to more modern forms of communication. But the message could only mean one thing. Dr. Helen pulled up the translation on the main screen. The words appeared in clear English, and as Maya read them, her worst fears were confirmed. The message was from a survivor. Another elf survivor. According to the transmission, there was at least one other member of Maya's species still alive somewhere in the galaxy. The message had been sent from a location somewhere near the Kepler sector, an area of space that was still largely unmapped and unexplored. The transmission contained coordinates, a warning, and a desperate plea for help. This could be a trap, Maya said quietly, her mind already working through the possibilities. The Zephyr Collective could have captured another elf and forced them to send this message. We considered that, Dr. Helen said. But look at the energy signature embedded in the transmission. It is not a fake. The technology required to generate that kind of signature is only known to a handful of civilizations, and most of them are extinct. Adam stepped forward with more data. The coordinates point to an abandoned research station that was established over 500 years ago. According to our historical records, it was a facility used by an ancient species called the Architects. They disappeared without a trace, and no one has ever found their main installation. If this survivor is broadcasting from there, they might have access to technology that could help us understand what the Zephyr really wants. Maya turned away from the displays and looked at her dragons. Ember made a low rumbling sound, a vibration that Maya could feel in her bones. The dragon was sensing her confusion, her fear, and her desperate hope. The possibility that another elf was alive changed everything. She was no longer the last of her kind. That realization was almost too much to process. "When can we leave?" Maya asked. "Not immediately," Dr. Helen replied. "The Kepler sector is almost 30 days away at our current speed. We would need Commander Jake's approval to alter our course and divert resources to this mission. There's also the question of whether we should go in person or send a probe first." Maya knew what she needed to do, even if it meant taking a risk. She had spent the last 3 months learning to trust the humans on this ship. She had fought beside them, strategized with them, and slowly opened her heart to the possibility that not all humans were enemies. Now she needed to ask them for the one thing that mattered most to her. "I need to speak with Commander Jake," Maya said. "I need to tell him about this discovery and convince him to help me reach this survivor." The walk to the command center felt longer than usual. Maya's mind was racing with possibilities and dangers. What if the survivor was being held by the Zephyr Collective? What if they had been corrupted or damaged by their captivity? What if this was all a clever deception designed to lead the Vanguard into a trap? But underneath all these doubts was a single powerful truth. She had to try. She had to at least attempt to find another member of her species. The alternative, continuing to believe that she was truly and completely alone, was unbearable. Commander Jake was reviewing tactical data when Maya entered the command center. He looked up immediately, his trained eyes assessing her emotional state in an instant. "Maya, you look troubled. What is wrong?" Jake asked, standing up from his chair. "We have a situation," Maya said. "Dr. Helen and Adam discovered something in a recent transmission that requires your immediate attention. It concerns the possibility of another elf survivor somewhere in the Kepler sector." Jake's eyebrows rose in surprise. He quickly moved to his communication console and contacted the laboratory. Within minutes, he had reviewed all the data that Dr. Helen had sent to him. His expression grew more serious with each piece of information he absorbed. "If this is real, it changes our strategic position," Jake said thoughtfully, "but it also presents significant risks. The Kepler sector is not secure. We have reports of pirate activity and unknown ships in that region. Sending the Vanguard there could expose the entire colony fleet to danger." "I understand," Maya said, trying to keep the disappointment from her voice. "I should not have asked." Jake held up his hand. "I did not say no. I said it presents risks. But I have learned something over the past 3 months working with you. Sometimes the biggest risks lead to the biggest rewards. The humans on this ship, the colonists in cryosleep, our entire civilization is facing extinction if we cannot find new allies and new resources. If there is even a chance that this survivor has information or technology that could help us, we need to pursue it." Jake turned to his navigation officer. "Recalculate our course. We are heading to the Kepler sector. Alert all ships in the fleet to maintain heightened alert status. We do not know what we will find there, but we will face it together." Maya felt tears forming in her eyes, but she forced them back. She had learned that humans often mistook emotional tears for weakness, and she needed them to see her as strong and capable. "Thank you, Commander," Maya said formally. Jake smiled slightly. "Do not thank me yet. First, we have to survive the journey and avoid any Zephyr patrols that might be in the region. Then we have to hope that this transmission is genuine and not some kind of trap. After that, we have to figure out what we are walking into at this research station. But if there is even a small chance that we can find another elf and gain knowledge about the architects and their technology, it is worth the risk." As Maya walked back through the corridors with her dragons, she felt something she had not experienced in a very long time. She felt hope. Real, genuine, overwhelming hope that her life might be about to change in ways she could not yet imagine. But she also felt fear. Fear that this hope would be destroyed, just like everything else she had ever loved. The Vanguard changed course and the journey toward the Kepler sector began. The journey through space was never truly peaceful, but the first week toward the Kepler sector brought a strange calm to the Vanguard. Maya spent her days training with the human combat teams, learning their weapons and their strategies, while her nights were devoted to meditation and connecting with her dragons. Ember and Frost grew stronger each day, their bodies adapting to the ship's artificial gravity, and their minds becoming more attuned to the complex energy signatures that filled the vessel. One afternoon, Maya was sparring with Lieutenant Kim, one of the Vanguard's most skilled combat officers. The human woman was smaller than Maya, but she moved with incredible speed and precision. Their training sessions had become more intense over the weeks, and now they fought with respect for each other's abilities rather than hesitation or fear. "Your reflexes are improving," Kim said, recovering from a dodge that Maya had executed perfectly. "But you are still thinking too much. You need to feel the fight, not analyze it." "Humans and elves fight differently," Maya replied, adjusting her stance. "My people rely on ancient instinct combined with magical awareness. Your kind depends on training and tactical calculation. I am trying to merge both approaches." Kim launched another attack, and this time Maya responded not with thought but with pure instinct. She flowed around Kim's strikes like water, anticipating each movement before it happened. When the sparring session ended, both women were breathing heavily and smiling. "You are going to be formidable when we reach that research station," Kim said, offering Maya her hand to help her up. "Whatever is waiting there, it will not know what hit it." Maya accepted the help and found herself grateful for the friendship she had developed with the human. A year ago, she would never have imagined that she could form genuine bonds with humans. Her entire life had been defined by stories of human cruelty and ambition, tales passed down through generations of elf warriors. But the humans on this ship had shown her something different. They were capable of kindness, loyalty, and sacrifice. The bridge alarm sounded suddenly, breaking through Maya's thoughts. Red emergency lights flickered to life as the ship's automated warning system activated. Maya and Kim rushed immediately to the command center, knowing that anything serious enough to trigger all hands alert was a threat they needed to address. Commander Jake stood in the center of the bridge, his eyes fixed on the long-range scanner display. Multiple contacts had appeared on the radar, approaching from multiple vectors. This was not a random encounter. This was a coordinated attack pattern. "What are we looking at?" Jake demanded. The tactical officer, a thin man named Robert, spoke rapidly. "We are detecting 5 unidentified ships approaching our position. They are not responding to hails, and their weapon systems are powering up. Based on energy signatures and vessel configuration, I would estimate they are pirate vessels, probably working together as a raiding group." "The Kepler sector is famous for pirate activity," Jake muttered. "We knew we might encounter hostile forces. All hands to battle stations. I want shields up and weapons charged. Do not fire unless they fire first." Maya stepped forward. "Commander, I need to consult with Frost. The dragons can sense energy signatures at greater distances than your sensors. They might be able to tell us if these are truly pirates or if the Zephyr Collective is involved." Jake nodded immediately. He had learned to trust Maya's instincts. "Do it." Maya closed her eyes and extended her consciousness toward Frost, who was resting in the dragon chamber several levels below the bridge. The mental connection was instantaneous and powerful. Frost's consciousness merged with hers, and suddenly Maya could perceive the approaching vessels in ways that human technology could never achieve. She felt the confusion and fear radiating from the pirates. They were desperate, hungry, and running from something, but there was no sign of the Zephyr Collective's cold, calculating energy. These were not coordinated with any larger military force. They were independent predators. "They are not connected to the Zephyr," Maya announced. "They are truly pirates. But they are running from something. I can sense fear and desperation in their mental signatures. Something is chasing them." As if to confirm Maya's words, the long-range sensors suddenly detected additional contacts appearing at the edge of the Vanguard's scanning range. These new signatures were different, more organized, more dangerous. The tactical officer's face went pale. "Commander, we have unknown vessels emerging from behind the asteroid field. Their energy signatures match known Zephyr Collective configurations. We have approximately 6 battle destroyers moving into attack position." The bridge erupted into controlled chaos. Officers called out coordinates, shield status, and weapon readiness. Maya watched as Commander Jake transformed into a military leader, his decisions precise and his orders clear. "The pirates are trying to lead us into an ambush," Kim said urgently. "The Zephyr wanted us to chase these raiders into the asteroid field where they have superior positioning." "Evasive maneuvers," Jake commanded. "All ships in the fleet are to change course immediately. We are not going to chase these pirates anywhere. Full sensor sweep. I want to know the exact positions of every Zephyr vessel." The Vanguard banked hard to port, moving away from the pirate vessels and the path they had been taking through space. Behind them, the pursuing Zephyr destroyers altered their course to match the new trajectory, but the humans had gained precious seconds of distance. "They know we are heading to the Kepler sector," Maya said suddenly, understanding the implication. "The Zephyr is trying to stop us before we reach the research station. They do not want us to find the survivor." Jake looked at her with understanding. "Then that means the survivor must be important. Really important. Lieutenant Kim, I want you to work with Maya on a strategy for penetrating Zephyr lines. If they know our destination, they will have forces stationed at key points along the route. We need to be smart about this." Over the next several hours, an intense battle unfolded in the depths of space. The Vanguard was heavily shielded and well-armed, but the Zephyr vessels had tactical advantages from their positioning. The human fleet fought back with determination and tactical brilliance, using asteroid fields for cover and coordinating their attacks to concentrate firepower on individual targets. Maya stood in the Combat Information Center, watching the battle unfold through multiple sensor feeds. Ember was in the weapons control room, his presence somehow improving the accuracy of the targeting systems. Scientists could not explain it, but there was no denying that when the dragons were nearby, weapon systems performed better. It was as if the ancient magic of the elves enhanced the modern technology of the humans. The battle reached a critical point when one of the Zephyr destroyers broke through the human defensive perimeter and targeted the Vanguard directly. Massive energy weapons charged, ready to unleash devastating attacks on the colony ship. "That destroys us if it hits," someone said in a terrified whisper. But Frost emerged from the depths of the ship, flying directly between the incoming energy blast and the Vanguard. The dragon's body generated a shield of pure magical force, absorbing the tremendous energy of the Zephyr weapon. The dragon's scales glowed brilliantly, and a sound like thunder echoed through the ship's hull. Frost staggered back from the impact, her mind crying out in pain through the connection with Maya. But the dragon did not fall. And more importantly, the Vanguard was not destroyed. "Return fire," Jake commanded. "Target that destroyer with everything we have." "It is wounded." "Now is our chance," the human weapons responded with overwhelming force. The concentrated firepower overwhelmed the Zephyr destroyer's shields, and explosions bloomed across its hull. The ship spun off course, crippled and falling back. The remaining Zephyr vessels, seeing that they were losing the engagement, began to retreat. Within minutes, the space around the Vanguard was clear of hostile contacts except for the drifting wrecks of damaged ships. But the victory felt hollow. Frost had been injured protecting the ship, and Maya could feel the dragon's pain through their mental bond. She ran immediately to the medical bay, where the dragons had their own specialized treatment area. Dr. Helen was already there with a team of specialists, examining Frost's injuries. The dragon lay on a massive platform, her breathing shallow and her eyes closed. "She took tremendous damage," Dr. Helen said without looking up from her instruments. "The energy absorption would have killed most living creatures. But her magical biology is different from anything we have studied before. She is healing, but it will take time." Maya approached her dragon and placed her hand on Frost's scaled forehead. Through their connection, she sent waves of comfort and healing intent. Frost's eyes opened slightly, and she released a soft, pained sound that was something between a rumble and a whimper. "Thank you," Maya whispered. "You saved all of us. You are so brave and so strong." As Frost's eyes closed again, exhausted but healing, Maya felt a new determination settle into her bones. Whatever waited for them in the Kepler sector, whatever survivor they might find, it was worth this price. The dragons had proven their loyalty once again. The humans had fought alongside her as equals. Their bond as a unified force was growing stronger every day. By the 17th day of their journey, Frost had recovered enough to move around the ship, though she was still not fully healed. The energy burns on her scales had faded to pale marks that would eventually disappear completely. More importantly, the dragon's spirit had returned. She flew alongside Ember again, their movements graceful and synchronized as they patrolled the corridors of the Vanguard. Maya had been spending increasing amounts of time in the research laboratory with Dr. Helen and Adam, studying the transmission that had started this entire journey. The more they analyzed it, the more mysterious it became. The language used was definitely Elf, from a dialect that had not been spoken in over 2,000 years. Yet the message was recent, sent no more than 3 weeks ago. The technology required to boost this signal across such a vast distance would require resources that we associate with the architects, Adam explained as he pulled up another data analysis. But the architects disappeared 500 years ago. How could someone be using their technology now? Unless, Dr. Helen said slowly, the research station has been continuously occupied. Perhaps by elves, perhaps by someone else, or perhaps the station itself is still functioning automatically, maintaining systems that were designed to operate indefinitely. Maya studied the coordinates one more time. The numbers meant something to her, something buried deep in her racial memory. She had grown up with stories of the architects, how they had visited the elf homeworld thousands of years ago and shared knowledge before vanishing mysteriously. Many elf scholars believed the architects had simply moved on to other galaxies, seeking new civilizations to help or test. The message contains a warning, Maya said, pointing to a section of text that had been partially corrupted in transmission. It says that the Zephyr Collective is searching for something at the research station, something old and powerful. It also says that time is running out. 13 days, Adam said quietly. In 13 days, we will reach the research station. But at current speed, with the detours we have had to make to avoid Zephyr patrols, we are cutting it very close. An alarm sounded throughout the ship, but this time it was different. Instead of the frantic red emergency lighting, a calm blue indicator came to life on all displays. This was a meeting summons. Commander Jake was calling a full senior staff assembly. When Maya arrived at the conference room, she found that everyone was already gathered. The atmosphere was tense, expectant. Jake stood at the head of the table with a grim expression on his face. "We have a problem," Jake announced without preamble. "Our main power reactor is showing signs of degradation. The repairs we did after the last battle were not as thorough as we hoped. If we do not shut down the reactor for complete repairs, we risk a catastrophic failure that could destroy the entire ship." "How long would repairs take?" asked Captain Victoria, who commanded one of the escort vessels. "At least 10 days, the chief engineer replied. "More if we encounter complications." Jake looked directly at Maya. "If we stop for repairs, we will not reach the research station for more than 3 weeks. The message said time is running out. If there is truly a survivor there, they might not be able to hold out that long." The weight of the decision settled over the room like a heavy fog. Maya understood the dilemma perfectly. The Vanguard was the largest and most important ship in the fleet. It contained most of the supplies, the command structure, and the colonists in cryogenic sleep. Losing the Vanguard would mean losing everything the humans had been working toward. But stopping to repair also meant abandoning the possibility of finding another elf survivor, and potentially allowing the Zephyr Collective to reach the research station first and claim whatever technology was hidden there. "There might be another way," Maya said carefully. "The dragons and I could travel ahead in a smaller, faster vessel. We could reach the research station in 5 days if we pushed hard and made no stops. We could scout the situation, confirm the survivor's location, and prepare for your arrival." Commander Jake leaned back in his chair, considering this option. "That would leave you vulnerable. You would be without the protection of the fleet, facing unknown dangers with minimal support." "I have faced worse," Maya said, "and Ember and Frost are not as helpless as you might think. We have survived together this long. We will survive this too." After an hour of debate and discussion, the decision was made. Maya would take a fast courier vessel, one of the small military ships that the Vanguard had in its complement. She would be accompanied by Lieutenant Kim, 2 specialist pilots, and Communications Officer Adam, who would maintain contact with the fleet. The preparations took 3 hours. The courier ship, the Swift Wanderer, was equipped with advanced sensors and a weapon system that was scaled for a small vessel, but still formidable. Dr. Helen personally supervised the loading of supplies, insisting on including medical equipment and research materials that might be useful. Frost and Ember moved aboard the ship with fluid grace, their large bodies filling the cargo hold in a way that made the pilots nervous. But both dragons seemed to understand the importance of the mission. There was a focus in their eyes, an ancient knowledge that transcended words. As the Swift Wanderer disengaged from the Vanguard's docking bay, Maya watched on the bridge's main screen as the colony ship grew smaller and smaller. It was surreal to be separating from the vessel that had become her home and refuge. Behind her, she could feel Frost and Ember's emotions through their mental connection. a mixture of excitement and determination. Setting course for the Kepler Sector Research Station, pilot Rebecca said from the navigation console. At maximum speed, we should arrive in 5 days and 4 hours. No communication windows with the Vanguard from our destination due to radio interference in that sector, Adam warned. Once we arrive, we will be on our own until we can send a discreet signal back to the fleet. The swift wanderer accelerated into space, leaving the Vanguard behind. The journey that followed was like nothing Maya had ever experienced. The small ship moved with incredible speed, cutting through the void with purpose and precision. The human pilots were masters of their craft, finding optimal routes through space that seemed to bend around obstacles and gravitational anomalies. On the second day of travel, they encountered their first Zephyr patrol. A small destroyer had been stationed at one of the major star systems, and its scanners picked up their vessel. But instead of attacking immediately, the Zephyr commander demanded identification and purpose. "Let me handle this," Adam said, moving to the communication console. He transmitted a false identification code, claiming that the Swift Wanderer was a civilian research vessel conducting astronomical surveys. The Zephyr were suspicious, but they did not have clear authorization to attack civilian ships without provocation. After several tense minutes of transmission exchanges, the destroyer allowed them to pass. "That was too close," Rebecca said, releasing a breath she had been holding. "We cannot risk another encounter like that." "We will have to be more careful," Kim agreed. "Only 5 more days. We can make it." On the 4th day of travel, something unexpected happened. Frost began to make strange sounds, rumbling vibrations that seemed to come from deep within the dragon's chest. Maya immediately connected with the dragon's consciousness, and suddenly she understood. Frost could sense something ahead of them, something old and powerful. The dragon's ancient magical awareness was picking up on the presence of the research station, even though they were still days away. More than that, the dragon could sense something else, something that made both dragons tense and vigilant. There was another magical presence at the research station. Not a Zephyr signature, not human, not anything they had encountered before. It was elf, but it was different, changed somehow by time and isolation. "The survivor is alive," Maya whispered. "Frost can sense them. They are alive and waiting." As they approached the final day of their journey, the atmosphere on the Swift Wanderer became almost electric with anticipation and nervous tension. Everyone understood that they were about to step into something important, something that could change everything about their mission and their understanding of the galaxy itself. Maya spent the night before arrival in meditation, connecting deeply with her dragons and preparing herself for whatever waited ahead. She thought about her destroyed homeworld, about the civilization that had been lost. She thought about the possibility that another elf had somehow survived all these years, hidden in this ancient research station. Tomorrow, her life would change forever. She could feel it in her bones, in the very core of her being. The Zephyr Collective was also racing toward this location, but the Swift Wanderer had one advantage. They had dragons, and dragons had always been faster and more resourceful than any military vessel created by any empire. The Architect Research Station emerged from the cosmic darkness like a ghost from a forgotten age. It was enormous, far larger than any military installation that Maya had ever seen. The station appeared to be a massive ring-like structure with multiple spires reaching out into space like crystalline fingers grasping toward the stars. Its surface gleamed with a metallic sheen that seemed to shift color as light reflected off its ancient hull. As the Swift Wanderer approached the docking coordinates, Maya stood on the bridge and stared in wonder at the sight before her. This was technology from an era when the galaxy had been populated by civilizations that humans and elves could barely comprehend. The architects had moved through space as if the laws of physics were mere suggestions to be bent and shaped at will. Detecting power signatures throughout the station, Adam reported. Multiple systems are still active. Life support is functioning. There is no debris field, which suggests the station has been maintained regularly. Receiving a hailing signal, Rebecca announced. It is in the Old Elf language. "The survivor is attempting to communicate with us." Maya stepped forward immediately. "Let me see the translation." The message that appeared on the screen made her heart skip a beat. The words were simple but powerful. They said only one thing. "Welcome home, sister, sister." Not survivor. Sister. The word meant so much more than simple kinship. It suggested a bond deeper than blood, a connection between two beings who shared not just ancestry but purpose and destiny. "We are being granted docking access," Rebecca said, reading more data from the incoming communications. "The station is opening bay doors for us. We have clear entry. Should I proceed?" "Yes," Maya said, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "Take us in. All crew members to environmental suits. We do not know what conditions we will face in the station." The swift wanderer moved smoothly into the massive docking bay. The sight inside took everyone's breath away. This facility was not just a research station. It was a place of wonder and technological marvels. Holographic displays covered the walls, showing data that seemed to flow and shift with living consciousness. Strange machines of unknown purpose hummed with soft harmonic tones that seemed almost musical. When the ship came to a complete stop and the docking bay doors sealed shut, Maya led the way to the airlock. She wore a combat suit, one hand on her weapon, but her heart was not in the gesture. Whatever awaited her on this station, it was not a threat in the conventional sense. The airlock cycled, and the doors to the station opened. Before Maya stood an elf woman who looked exactly like the reflections Maya saw in mirrors. Same height, same bone structure, same violet eyes. But this elf was older, her face lined with the wisdom and pain of centuries of isolation. Her hair was silver white, a color that Maya's people reached only in their final years of life. For a moment, both elves simply stared at each other, and Maya realized something profound. This was not just another survivor. This was her bloodline relative, someone from her family line, someone who shared her genetic heritage. "My name is Lyra," the older elf said softly. "I have been waiting for someone to reach this station for longer than you have been alive, Maya. I heard your call 5,000 miles away. I felt your presence the moment your mind touched this sector of space. How do you know my name?" Maya asked, unable to move forward or backward, frozen in the moment between worlds. "Because I have watched the stars for 230 years, Lyra replied. "Because I have studied every transmission, every energy signature, every fragment of information that has passed through this station's sensors. And because the architects showed me the future, or at least one possible future, and in that vision I saw you arriving here. I saw you searching for answers about what we are, what we were meant to do, and what lies ahead for both our kind." Lieutenant Kim stepped up beside Maya, her hand resting on her weapon. Lyra's eyes flickered toward the human, and she smiled faintly. "You have brought humans with you. The ancient records speak of humanity and elves as natural enemies, destined to clash in eternal conflict. But I see something different in your eyes, child. I see trust between the species. That alone tells me that the prophecies might not be absolute. We need answers," Maya said, finally finding her voice. "The Zephyr Collective destroyed my entire world. They destroyed my people. Only I survived because I was off-world. I found refuge with the humans, and now I'm helping them survive what the Zephyr is planning. But I need to know why. Why are we so important to the Zephyr? Why did they destroy an entire civilization?" Lyra turned and gestured for them to follow. The group moved through corridors that seemed to defy logic, walls that shifted between transparency and opacity, floors that seemed to suspend them above impossible spaces. The station was alive in ways that Maya had never experienced before. "The architects created us," Lyra began as they walked. "Not physically created, but they enhanced our species, elevated us. They gave us magic, gave us the ability to bond with dragons, gave us consciousness and wisdom beyond our years. But they also gave us a responsibility. We were meant to be guardians, protectors of certain knowledge that was too dangerous for younger species to possess." She led them into a vast chamber where ancient machinery hummed with power. Holographic displays showed star maps with thousands of different sectors marked in various colors. "The Zephyr Collective discovers that we possess access to something they need desperately, something that was hidden in the crystal depths beneath our home world. The architects left this knowledge for us to guard, but the Zephyr believes that they are worthy of it as well. When we refuse to give them access to this place, when we refuse to reveal the location of the archive, they destroyed our world in anger." "What is the archive?" Adam asked, his scientific curiosity overriding his caution. "The archive is the repository of knowledge from 1,000 dead civilizations," Lyra replied. "It contains the secrets of technologies so advanced that they could reshape reality itself. The architects gathered this knowledge from across billions of years of exploration. collecting it and storing it in a place where it could be protected and studied by only the most worthy species. The Zephyr want to use this technology to conquer the galaxy, Maya said, understanding instantly. Yes, Lyra confirmed. And they will not stop until they have either obtained access to the archive or destroyed everyone who knows of its existence. Kim spoke up.
Is there a way to protect this archive?
Could we move it or hide it better? Lyra shook her head. The archive cannot be moved. It is anchored in the deepest quantum foundations of space itself. Its location is locked away in a code that only an elf can understand, a code that is woven into our very DNA. That is why the Zephyr needs at least one elf alive. They will capture an elf, extract the knowledge, and use it to access the archive. Then we cannot let that happen, Maya said firmly. We need to find a way to keep the archive hidden, or find a way to make it inaccessible to the Zephyr forever. Lyra looked at her younger companion with something like pride in her ancient eyes. That is why you are here, Maya. That is why the architects showed me your arrival in their visions. We have a choice now, one that only you can make. You can go back to the humans and tell them to run, to leave this sector of space and hide on the far side of the galaxy. With just you and I alive, the Zephyr cannot access the archive. Or you can stay here and help me activate a protocol that the architects left behind, a protocol that has not been used in 10,000 years. What does this protocol do? Maya asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. It locks the archive away completely, Lyra said quietly. It seals it behind barriers so powerful that no technology in the known galaxy could break through. But it requires the consciousness and will of an elf present at this station at the moment of activation. It will consume that elf's remaining lifespan, accelerating them to the end of their natural life in a single moment. The implications were clear. Whoever activated the protocol would die. Maya looked at Lyra and saw in the old elf's face that she had already accepted this fate. She had been waiting for another elf to arrive so that they could make this choice together, so that neither of them would have to face the sacrifice alone. Before Maya could speak, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Red warning lights lit up across every surface. Adam checked his communications device, his face going pale. The Vanguard's long-range sensors detected Zephyr destroyers entering the system. He said urgently, at least 10 of them and more are arriving. They are on a direct course for this station. They will be here in less than 30 minutes. The choice was no longer distant and theoretical. It was immediate and absolute. Whatever decision Maya and Lyra made would have to be made right now, in the next few moments, with the Zephyr bearing down upon them like a storm. Maya's mind raced through the options with the speed of thought itself. 30 minutes. They had 30 minutes before the Zephyr collective arrived with overwhelming force. The Swift Wanderer was fast, but it could not outrun 10 destroyers. The research station was ancient and well defended, but even its advanced technology might not be enough against such an assault. Lyra, show me how to activate the protocol, Maya said, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around them. Wait, Lyra replied, grabbing Maya's arm. You do not understand what you are asking. Once you activate it, you will cease to exist. Your consciousness will be integrated into the security system. You will live on as part of the archive, but you will not be yourself anymore. And if we do not activate it, the Zephyr will capture one or both of us, extract the archive's location, and destroy everything the architects work to protect, Maya countered. They will also enslave your species for their knowledge and genetic abilities. Is that not true? Lyra released her grip and Maya saw tears forming in the ancient elf's eyes. I have spent 2 centuries preparing for this moment. I have studied everything in this station. I have walked every corridor and understood every system. But I have waited so long that I have forgotten what it means to be alive, to feel passion and purpose. I had hoped that when you arrived we could find another way. But there is no other way, is there? There might be, Adam said, stepping forward with his communication device. If we can warn the Vanguard about the Zephyr arrival, if we can coordinate an attack, maybe we can slow them down long enough to reach this station and provide support. The Vanguard is 3 days away, Rebecca said, checking her instruments. Even if they pushed at maximum speed and damaged their reactor further, they could not arrive in time. Kim moved to one of the holographic displays and studied the tactical information showing the approaching Zephyr vessels. Her military mind was working through possibilities, trying to find some advantage they could use. The asteroid field to the east of the station, Kim said suddenly. These sensors show it is massive and dense. If we could lure the Zephyr destroyers into that field, we could use our superior maneuverability to take them on one at a time. The Swift Wanderer is smaller and faster. We could use hit-and-run tactics. That would be suicide, Rebecca said flatly. We are one small ship against 10 massive destroyers. But we also have 2 dragons, Maya said, understanding Kim's plan. And we have the defensive systems of this ancient station. If Lyra can activate the station's weapon systems and coordinate with us, we might be able to mount an actual defense. Lyra looked at Maya with sudden understanding. You are not planning to activate the protocol immediately, are you? No, Maya said. I am planning to buy us time. Every minute we survive is a minute closer to the Vanguard's arrival. Every minute gives us more options, more possibilities, and I think that is what the architects would have wanted anyway. Not for us to give up, but to fight with everything we have. Lyra nodded slowly, and something like a smile crossed her ancient face. You are right. They would have wanted us to fight. Come, I will show you how to use this station's defenses. We may be the last of our kind, but we are not helpless. The next 15 minutes was a blur of activity. Lyra guided Maya through the station's control systems, showing her how to activate weapon arrays that had been dormant for thousands of years. Ancient technology hummed to life, and the station itself seemed to awaken like a slumbering giant finally opening its eyes. Kim worked with Rebecca and the pilots to plot a course through the asteroid field that would give them maximum defensive advantages. Adam maintained constant communication with the approaching Zephyr fleet, receiving their demands and warnings while buying time with false responses and technical explanations. Ember and Frost moved throughout the station, their ancient dragon consciousness beginning to merge with the architect technology in ways that none of them fully understood. It was as if the dragons were designed to work with this technology, their magical nature creating a bridge between living consciousness and artificial intelligence. When the first Zephyr destroyers entered the system, the Swift Wanderer launched from the station with incredible speed. The small ship cut through space like a silver knife, heading directly toward the asteroid field. Behind it, 5 Zephyr vessels gave chase, their weapons charging. What the Zephyr commanders did not expect was the coordinated assault that followed. As soon as the Zephyr ships entered the asteroid field, the ancient defensive systems of the research station activated. Energy beams, particle weapons, and exotic technologies that humans and elves had no names for tore through space. The first Zephyr destroyer was caught by surprise. Its shields, designed to withstand normal weapons, were overwhelmed by the sheer ferocity and strangeness of the ancient arsenal. The ship exploded in a brilliant burst of light. The Swift Wanderer banked hard, using the asteroid field's cover to position itself on the flank of the second destroyer. Lieutenant Kim, who was now commanding the small vessel, coordinated with Lyra to create a crossfire that devastated the Zephyr ship's weapon systems. But the Zephyr were not helpless. They quickly adapted to the situation, using their superior numbers to divide the defensive forces. 2 more destroyers managed to push past the asteroid field and began attacking the research station directly. Massive energy blasts rocked the ancient structure, causing sections to explode in brilliant cascades of light and fire. Alarms screamed throughout the facility, but Lyra remained calm and focused, directing the defensive response with precision and courage. Maya stood at the central command console, her hands moving across holographic interfaces, coordinating both the station's defenses and the Swift Wanderer's movements. She was both warrior and commander, both elf and guardian of something far greater than herself. Then something extraordinary happened. Frost and Ember emerged from inside the station and flew directly into the space around the research facility. The dragons moved with a grace and power that was absolutely breathtaking. They weaved between incoming weapon fire, creating barriers of pure magical force that deflected the energy blasts away from the station. One of the attacking destroyers focused all its weapons on Frost, pouring continuous fire at the dragon. But Frost did not try to dodge or run. Instead, the dragon flew directly at the destroyer, her body glowing with an intense blue light. The dragon hit the ship's shields, and for a moment the universe seemed to hold its breath. Then the destroyer's shield generators overloaded. The ship's weapon systems went silent. In that moment of vulnerability, the station's weapon arrays focused their fire, and the second destroyer was crippled and forced to retreat. The Zephyr commander, seeing that they were losing this engagement, made a decision. The remaining destroyers began to withdraw from the battle, pulling back out of range of the station's defensive systems. Adam's voice crackled over the communications channel. The Vanguard has detected the battle. Commander Jake has ordered the fleet to enter faster than light travel immediately. They are burning their reactors to get here as quickly as possible. The Zephyr are receiving the same information. They are accelerating their retreat. But as the Zephyr destroyers moved away from the station, they altered their course. Instead of heading back toward their territory, they were moving toward the Vanguard's position. It was clear that if they could not take the research station, they would try to eliminate the human colony ship and everyone on it. No, Maya said, understanding the implication instantly. She turned to Lyra. I need you to activate the Archive's defense protocols. Can the Archive broadcast a signal that the Zephyr can detect? Something that will make them realize the Archive's location is not a secret that can be extracted? Lyra looked confused for a moment, then realization dawned in her ancient eyes. If I broadcast the Archive's location to all major civilizations across the galaxy, the Zephyr will have no reason to pursue the Vanguard. They will only care about reaching the Archive themselves, and they will know that every other power in the galaxy will be converging on that location as well. Exactly, Maya said. The secret dies with us right now. We make it known to everyone. The Archive becomes a prize that no single power can control because every power will be fighting over it. This is a massive gamble, Lyra said. You understand that? I do, Maya replied. But the architects built this station for exactly this kind of moment. They knew there would come a time when the Archive needed to be protected not by secrecy, but by the very fact that too many powers wanted it for anyone. Power to claim it. Lyra moved to the central control console and began entering commands in the ancient elf language. Around them, the station began to glow with a pale golden light, and then a transmission went out, broadcasting across thousands of light years of space. The message was simple. It contained the Archive's location, coordinates that pointed to a sector of space hidden inside the most dangerous region of the galaxy. It contained a warning that the Archive was protected by defenses that even the architects had feared to fully document. And it contained an invitation for all civilizations to come and try to claim it, knowing that they would face not just the Archive's defenses, but also each other.